I thought I would talk about this tomorrow, but why wait? Why wait? The US, no, Donald Trump has lost this war. This war he chose to start. This war he chose to escalate. This war he chose with Benjamin Netanyahu to get involved with no clear objectives and no way of even meeting the unclear objectives. None of the objectives were met. So what did Donald Trump do today? Today, he had a bunch of elementary school kids at the White House. And because Donald Trump doesn't want you to forget that he's a war criminal, he wants you to really, really remember that. He said to the kids, if it wasn't for me, in 2 weeks, Iran would kill you all. Yes, he said that to children, elementary school children. They were probably the same age as the elementary school children he killed in Minab in the first hour of this foolish, illegal war on Iranians. Talk about projection. Talk about being inappropriate and unhinged to say that to children. The second thing is, he said that he talks to the Iranians. The Iranians call him and speak to him. And when they speak to him, they show him so much respect. But then when they're not speaking to him, then they have this bellicose tone. Donald Trump thinks he's speaking to the Iranians directly. And if the Iranians were calling the President of the United States and speaking to the President of the United States directly, that would be huge news. If that were true, the oil markets would be dropping. The world would be rejoicing because that would mean there's direct contact between the Iranian leadership and the President of the United States. He is delusional, completely delusional. Not only will the Iranians not speak to him, they won't speak to anybody now till the blockade is lifted. They are saying there will be no direct negotiations until the blockade is lifted. Talk about admitting defeat. Today, Donald Trump issues another missive that on Pakistan's request, he is suspending Project Freedom. A day-old Project Freedom, which was supposed to free all the tankers and all the ships trapped in the Persian Gulf because they can't cross the Strait of Hormuz. But the blockade, he says, will remain. The blockade will remain. Well, if the blockade remains, that means that you're still in the war situation. You're still at war. He's basically admitting that every tactic in the book has failed. Marco Rubio's press conference today was about their objective now, he says, is to open the Strait of Hormuz and make sure it has free navigation and there's no tolls and no country owns any waterway. I wish somebody had reminded him that they are executing people on the high seas right now off the coast of Colombia and Venezuela and near Cuba. Just executing anybody on a boat. They are saying they own the waterway. They're saying they own the high seas. But he's saying nobody has a right to own the waterways. So Iran must open the Strait of Hormuz, and they're begging China to get involved. China must get involved. China is entirely dependent on exports. This is hurting China so much. The only objective, Marco Rubio says, is that to open the Strait of Hormuz, which was open on February 27th. The fact that Marco Rubio is doing this big, long presser, because now J.D. Vance has washed his hands off of this, Kushner and Witkoff are off doing their own grifty things, Nobody wants anything to do with this anymore because it's an utter abysmal failure. So it's now in Rubio's lap. What a disaster. What a disaster. Did so many people have to die? Did those children have to die to satisfy Netanyahu's bloodlust and Trump's ego and narcissism and his desire to see things blow up? But we know that he is so unstable that if in fact the Pentagon has ordered 15,000 more Marines to go to the Gulf, and if they've ordered more battleships and more aircraft, then he's not planning to not attack. He is planning some sort of attack. And God only knows what Netanyahu is saying to him. What are they cooking up? What do they think this pause is doing? The problem is they're not the only ones in a pause. Iran is continuing to say that they expect a military strike again. They're saying it almost every day, that they are expecting to be struck again and they are ready for it. They have already struck the UAE twice because for them it's a clear message. You are not moving your oil, and if you dare use your territory to strike us again, we will light you up. Unfortunately, that is what is happening. So I don't know what this, based on the request of Pakistan, other countries, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and the other thing he says, which again seems utterly delusional, is that he is pausing this to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. Who's negotiating the agreement? So much so that he wants it to be finalized? This must be news to Iran because it's certainly news to everybody else. Again, if this is some sort of effort to move the market, I don't know. But it's certainly not helping people who are paying close to $5 at the pump. It certainly is not helping his poll numbers. It certainly isn't helping those who are paying 8% higher grocery prices. So this is what is happening. But in my opinion, absolutely, Trump has lost this war, and whether this makes him back off and move on or makes him 10x more dangerous, it's really hard to tell. It's so hard to tell. We are in such a moment of volatility because there is so much egg on their face that who knows what he will do in retaliation, because he is such a malignant narcissist that he cannot handle being a loser.